and share with you kind of a few thoughts here, but really the overarching principle out of these verses. We may not get all the way to 10, but that's fine. The Bible says, 2 things have I required of thee. Deny me them not before I die. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me. Lest I be full and deny thee, and say, Who is the Lord? Or lest I be poor and steal and take the name of my God in vain. Accuse not a servant unto his master, lest he curse thee, and thou be found guilty. We're dealing with a man named Agur who is speaking to 2 men, Ithiel and Ukel. Now, if you'll recall, we have no idea who these individuals are. We know that the man Agur is the son of Yakeh, and that's all we know. And so I know that when we first dealt with this, I was doing my best to come up with a pronunciation. Brother Tim, the theological doctor that he is, pronounced it in some manner that sounded real good. And I said, I'm not going to say that. I'll get as close as I can. I'm just trying not to call him Jake like from State Farm. And so that's my goal, is to not say his name that way. But there's an important thing here. I will tell you that in verse 7, there's an indication, I believe, and I don't think it's an important issue to deal with, but Ithiel and Ukel are the 2 people that he is dealing with. Most commonly, people think these are close friends of his. That's highly possible. I would submit, verse 7, when he says, 2 things have I required of thee, deny me them not before I die, that they either have to be very close friends or sons. I think they very possibly could be sons. Now, why do you say that? Well, predominantly the entire book of Proverbs, Proverbs 31, is wisdom from a mother to her son. Most of the Proverbs are Solomon to his son. And it would just make sense if Proverbs 30, being the only other chapter, would be to sons. It seems to be that this entire passage is dealing with fatherly advice to sons, meaning the entire book of Proverbs. Now, again, there's no way to prove that. There's no way, so I'm not going to fight you over it. If you say, I think it's his friends, great, go with that. That's probably true. But I just think that these are things that you would say to your sons if you gathered them in and said, like Jacob does to, Isaac does to Jacob and Esau, right? Right before he dies, wants to talk to him. Like Jacob does with his 12 sons, where he blesses them. This is a man who gathers his 2 sons together and says, hey, there's these 2 things that I want you to do for me before I die. Now, whether these are his friends or his children, he still says the same thing. And I think it is very interesting, and I want you to get the heartbeat behind this. When you are nearing death, there are certain things that just don't matter anymore. Do you understand that your occupation that you invest your life in is not at the forefront of your priorities when you're knocking on death's door? Meaning this, nobody ever dies going, I wish I had spent more time at the office. Right? That's not the thrust, the heartbeat of what matters most in life. And so when you read these, and keep in mind that this man is speaking under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, and he proclaims in verses 2 and 3 that he's more brutish than any man, he has not the understanding of a man, he neither learned wisdom, nor does he have the knowledge of the holy. However, he is observing some things about his generation. If you look from verse 11 through verse 14, they all start out, and we'll deal with this next week, there is a generation. There is a generation. There is a generation. There is a generation. Then he begins to make some observations, not just about the generations, but he makes some observations about some issues that are just general observations. Meaning this, he talks about a horse leech in verse 15. He talks about the grave and the barren womb and the earth and fire that say not it's enough in verse 16. He deals with 3 things that are too wonderful for him in verse 18. 4 that he knows not. He's going to list those. He deals with just over and over again some things. Verse 21, that the earth is disquieted and for which it cannot bear. Some things that are problematic in the earth. Things aren't going the right way, not how it's intended to be. So he's making all of these observations seemingly from his, we'll say, deathbed, or at least from his, I'm no longer the young man. I'm into my older age, and the things that maybe I would have at the beginning gone after or not paid much attention to, now they seem to me of greater importance. So that's where he's at in his life, and I cannot stress enough the value of the questions about God in verse 4, the 7 things that he asks there that are drawing him to know God more than the simple truth, the trust in God's word. Every word of God is pure, verse 5. He is a shield to them that put their trust in him. It is a trust issue to believe the Bible. Then he brings that up with the reproof for those that add to it. Add thou not unto his words, lest he reprove thee, and thou be found a liar. Then he follows right into that with 2 things have I required of thee. Deny me them not before I die. So you go, hey, if this is your grandpa, you pay attention. I will tell you this, as a pastor, there have been multiple times now where the calling on my life has put me in the room with people who know they're about to die. And we have sat with family members as their loved ones have passed away. We have spoken to people that knew that they didn't have much time left. And it is amazing to me how in that conversation, the last conversation before someone knows they're going the way of all the world, when they know they're about to die, that conversation reveals the heart of the individual. I'll never forget the last conversation I had with the pastor from my teenage years, Richard Saunders. Pastor Saunders knew he was going to die. He had a brain tumor that was inoperable, and it was getting worse. And he knew that he didn't have much time left. And I'll never forget that conversation. I'll never forget going up to the hospital with Brother Joe. And right before Brother Joe passed away, up in Fort Collins, I'll never forget the conversation that we had, and him, though he was not supposed to talk, laboring to talk because he had a desire for certain things in our church. He wanted to see God do some things, and he was expressing that. I'll never forget a man that probably none of you even remember. Maybe Brother Gil would. I know that Willie would, but Charlie Monarco. Charlie passed away. And right before Charlie passed away, he had one thing on his mind. His 4-year-old. Without a doubt, he knew he was going to die, and he wanted one thing. And he wanted me to promise him something that I could not guarantee about his daughter. And I told him, I said, Charlie, I will promise you this. I will make myself available, that if she wants that I will be there for her. And he had a heart's desire that his daughter would have someone in her life that could teach her the truth about God's Word. That was his heart. It's all he cared about. He knew he was going to die. He didn't want to stay alive. He knew that wasn't the option. What he wanted was for his daughter to be taken care of. And this man says these things that if he is your loved one, you would pay attention to. You'd feel a responsibility. And listen, you ought to feel a responsibility. Can I tell you that God watches these type of situations? You can go to David and Jonathan. and how they made a covenant together before the Lord, and how that they covenanted that each one would take care of the other's family after they were gone. And you realize that years and years later, I'm talking many years later, David seeks out Mephibosheth because of that covenant. And God was watching that. Your parents tell you to do something before they die. Your grandma says something, right? I'll never forget last time I talked to my grandma. I'll never forget being in the house when my great-grandma passed away. You know, just the conversations we had when she stopped talking to us that week and all of that. Like there are some things that you ought to take with you. And listen, it ought to cause you to honor their wishes. Say, well, my life, that's not what I want to do. Well, there are times when God is watching how we honor those who were in our life. Can I tell you, when your pastor is about to die, I don't mean me, but you know, if you live long enough, it may very well be me. But when your pastor is about to die, like Pastor Saunders was, and he tells you, if I had it all to do again, I wish I had 2 lives to give for God. That's what he said. He said, I wish I had 2 lives that I could have given to the Lord. And then he says, Caleb, don't ever. You understand that matters? Say, what is it? Well, he wanted to be sure that we'd never go away from this book. If for no other reason, you understand, we ought to have enough character to hold to these truths and these oaths that you make, these vows, these promises. And here's a man who's about to die requesting of these 2 men, I request of you, these 2 things, deny me them not before I die. So what are they? What are they? Look at it, verse 8. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me. Wow. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Those are the 2 things. Feed me with food convenient for me. He didn't ask for a lot. He didn't ask for it all to be gone. What he asked for was very interesting. He wanted substance, but not stuff. Remove far from me vanity. If you look at the book of Ecclesiastes, you will find that the writer of the bulk of the book of Proverbs lived his life in such a manner that he had an abundance of things and wound up with vanity. Solomon set his heart to seek after folly, to seek after wisdom, to seek after mirth and laughter and joy and sorrow. He said, hey, I want all that life has to offer. And you know what he found? Vanity of vanities, all is vanity, saith the preacher. That's what he found it to be. And here's a man who, instead of wanting all that life has to offer, said, you know what I don't want? I don't want any of that. I don't want that to be anywhere near me. The vanity of it all, I want to, remove far from me vanity and lies. Vanity is that which looks good on the outside but has no meaning or no purpose or no value to it. It is empty on the inside. The vanity is when they stopped making solid chocolate and made hollow chocolate. That's vanity. That's a scarring memory in my brain. The first time I went to chomp down on a piece of chocolate, because see, when we were kids, chocolate was real. It was solid. There was no other option. And then one day they figured out how to make it full of air and not chocolate. We used to have chocolate that was given to us every year at a certain time of year. And we put it in the freezer and we'd gnaw on it all year long. Because that's how you'd have to do it. It's frozen and it's solid. So, I mean, you could gnaw on it all year long. Then there was a year when the very same shaped chocolate disappeared that day because it was vanity. There was no substance to it. It was empty. It was disappointing. And it costs more. Yeah, that's probably true. I want to highlight tonight just this out of verse 7. He says, 2 things have I required of thee. I want you to see this. He doesn't need a lot. There is a simplicity to this man. There's a simplicity to what life's about. And I really want to stress this as the main thing tonight, is that you will not find your value, you will not find your purpose, and you will not find your enjoyment of life in abundance. You won't find it there. We have heard over and over again all our lives that money doesn't buy happiness. You'll find people who are rich tell you money isn't all it's cracked up to be. And every poor person says, well, let me learn that lesson for myself. You know, I think it may not buy happiness, but it'll buy some things that'll make me happy. And you know what you'll find? Hey, listen, you know what you'll find? You'll find that you aren't as wise as you think you are. Because there's a reason why it's so consistent. So there's a simplicity to this man. The end of his life, he doesn't need a whole lot. He just 2 things. And then here it is, deny me them not before I die, marks the significance of these 2 things. Like, it really matters to him. So what does he ask for? Remove far from me vanity and lies. Hold your place here. Go over to Psalm 119. I want you to see that this is actually, this vanity and lies thing is actually quite connected in our Bible. And we're not going to take the time tonight to look at that. But I just want you to see the psalmist here, David. Verse 29, Psalm 119, verse 29. Remove from me the way of lying. You see that? Now look down at verse 37. I'm sorry, not 37. Yeah. Turn away mine eyes from beholding vanity, and quicken thou me in thy way. Turn away mine eyes from beholding vanity. Now stop to consider what that would be like in our day. What he's asking for is, God, don't even let me see it. Turn away from mine eyes from beholding the vanity. Do you understand the vanity of the influencer culture that we have? Do you understand the vanity of it? Here's what he would be saying in our day. Lord, don't even let me be exposed to that. Kids, are you listening? Are you paying attention? The psalmist is saying, don't even expose me to any of that. God, I don't want to see any of it. Now, what we like to do is we like to see all of it. We like to see what's out there. Now, it doesn't matter where you're at, what your thing is, you will find a niche of things that you like to know what's out there. All right? You can like tubs and showers. Think about how boring that sounded. Okay? Like a tub has been a tub forever, right? I mean, ever since it wasn't a river, a tub's been a tub. You know what I mean? Okay, consider this. There are people that fly to Las Vegas every year for a convention of the most modern tubs and shower technology. Doesn't that just sound intriguing to you? What does it look like? The water turns on, the water turns off. You know what some of the technology is? I guarantee you. Alexa, turn on my shower, right? I guarantee you that's a thing. There's a smart shower out there. We were working on a house umpteen years ago now, and they had a digital shower. You could set the temperature of the shower. I'm talking about 2007, 8, 9, back before it was cool. You know what I mean? And you know where they saw that? This person went to this convention in Las Vegas. That's how I know it's a thing. You mean to tell me, now watch, that even something as boring as tubs and showers, that there are people that want to know everything about it. So there are people in our day, because we didn't have what y'all have then, there are people in our day who get all of these products off of Amazon and review them for you to see, these cool gadgets, and you will waste all kinds of time watching that. You will spend hours hearing reviews about the newest phones and the newest technology and the newest this or the newest that or the coolest feature on this luxury car. Can I just let you in on a little secret? None of you kids need to worry about the features of a Rolls Royce. You know why I know that? I know your parents. You don't need to worry about it. Well, what makes it the coolest? None of our concern. You know why? Because here's what we'll find. Look, I'm just telling you. We'll covet after it. And here's a man that understood. So Solomon went after knowing these things, finds them to be vanity. This man here at the end of his life said, you know what? Remove far from me vanity and lying. I don't want anything that's showy, anything that's fake. Give me substance. Give me real. Give me things that are valuable, of worth. You know what you'll find those things to be? Listen, not houses, not cars. You know what you're going to find them to be? You're going to find them to be in people. You're going to find it in knowing God. What's his name? What's his son's name, if thou canst tell? Hey, how much do you know him? It's almost as if this man looked ahead and saw YouTube. Because I'm telling you, he's like, yeah, I don't want to know anything about that. I'm going to read this verse to you so we don't have to turn as far. Go back to Genesis 28 if you would. When you're going to Genesis 28, I want you to hear this from Isaiah 59. None calleth for justice, nor any pleadeth for truth. They trust in vanity and speak lies. They conceive mischief and bring forth iniquity. Isn't it interesting how the connection, again, just one other area of where this lies and vanity are connected. And this man, this Agur, he said, remove far from me vanity and lies. You ever met somebody who always seemed to be trying to sell you something that was too good to be true? I mean, like they could have a pen, but all of a sudden it's the best pen in the whole wide world that really they shouldn't be even showing you. And it's like, yeah, I want nothing to do with that. You might stumble across something that's actually really cool. I just don't have the time for that. The longer you go as a pastor, here's what I'll tell you I'm observing in me. Listen, it's not the people who come in flashy with how big or good they are. It's the people who are just real and steady and just walk with God that you're looking for. It's not about how big of a bang you can make, because I'll tell you, a lot of times you can just wind up picking up pieces. But they'll come in and present themselves in a big way. I'd rather find out that you're actually as good as those people talked about than for you to come in saying it. You know why? Because oftentimes when you come in saying this about yourself, that you have this much, most of the time, that's not even the case. But look with me, if you would, Genesis 28. I want you to see this, because he asked for this at the end. He said this, and we'll be done with this thought. But he said, feed me with food convenient for me. Genesis 28, look at verse 20. Genesis 28, verse 20. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if God will be with me, and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. Now I want to ask you this question. Now I want you kids to consider this. Pay attention to me. Would you make a vow to God like that? What do you mean? Would you make a vow to God like this? I'd submit to you that most people would go back on this vow. Here's why. Here's what he said. You would vow to God that he'd be your God and you'd stick with God if all he did was fed you and clothed you. Would you serve God for the rest of your life if he fed you and clothed you? Now, we all know that the right answer to that question is, yes, preacher, of course I would. Okay, what that means is, what if everything goes wrong in your life? Notice he didn't ask for a house. There was no cars. He didn't even ask for a horse to ride on. He didn't ask that his children wouldn't die or that his wife wouldn't die. His beloved dies. You know what he said? God, if you'll just feed me and clothe me and bring me back to my father's house in peace, you'll be my God. Food and raiment, I'll be content. Sound familiar? Now watch Jacob at the end of his life. Come with me, if you would, please, to Genesis 48. Here he is at the end of his life. This is Jacob in Genesis 28 at the beginning. Genesis 48 is at the end. And this is his account, talking to Joseph here after he comes back and sees him in Egypt. I mean, the man's like 130 years old at this point. All right? He's lived a long life. And this is the telling of his life to his son. Genesis 48, verse 15. He blessed Joseph and said, God, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac did walk. Watch this now. The God which fed me all my life long unto this day. Wow. Genesis 28, God, if you'll feed me. Genesis 48, the God that fed me. Let me ask you, what has God done for you? Yeah, but we very seldom do we go, well, he's fed me every day. Very seldom do we go, you know what, God, you fed me. We don't think anything of that. Here Jacob is going, you know what, the God of Abraham and the God that fed me. I mean, you can keep reading here, but he doesn't say much more. He said, the angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, let my name be named on them, the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, let them grow into a multitude. So he starts talking about them. He doesn't start. talk about him much anymore after that. Just, hey, this is God. This is what he did for me. I want him to bless you. Let me ask you kids, if your grandpa or your grandma right now, if they're still alive, brought you in, and they're about to die, and here was what they told you, right? Here's what they brought you in, and here's what they said. They looked at you and were like, hey, Bree, I want God to feed you like he fed me. You'd be like, that's it? Hey, how about we pray a little bit bigger of a prayer than that, right? Like, come on. That's it? I'll pray. I pray you're fed. Go to 2 Kings 25. 2 Kings 25. If you start looking this up, you'll find there's a fairly consistent thing here. 2 Kings 25, verse 29. It's the last two verses of 2 Kings. This is a king that's taken into captivity. It says, or verse 28, he spake kindly to him, set his throne above the throne of the kings that were with him in Babylon, changed his prison garments, and he did eat bread continually before him all the days of his life. And his allowance was a continual allowance given him of the king, a daily rate for every day, all the day of his life. You know what he did? He fed him every day. By the way, you know what the kindness was that David showed Mephibosheth? Do you know what it was? That he could sit at his table and eat every day. Go to Jeremiah 37. I'm done. We're two places. Actually, I don't want to lie. Sam got on to me about that on Sunday. Let's see. We're going to go to two places in Jeremiah. I will quote a verse in Luke, and then we'll close in 1 Timothy 6. How's that? Because Brother Sam said it does count if I quote it. So I have to say that. I listened. Did y'all listen? Jeremiah 37, verse 21. Then Zedekiah the king commanded that they should commit Jeremiah into the court of the prison, that they should give him daily a piece of bread out of the baker's street till all the bread in the city were spent. Thus Jeremiah remained in the court of the prison. Do you realize that Jeremiah is in a land that is in a famine? They have no bread. Jeremiah is imprisoned and given a piece of bread every day. You know what he is? He's being fed by God. Imprisoned. I wonder if you would say like Jacob, he fed me every day. Or if you would complain because you're imprisoned. Do you understand? Joseph got some food in prison. Jeremiah 52, same thing. Jeremiah 52, verse 34. It's the very last, by the way, this is an interesting thing. 2 Kings deals with this timeline. The last verse of 2 Kings, the last verse of Jeremiah deals with this same thing. That's intriguing to me. That's interesting. Look what it says. And for his diet, right? It's talking about the same thing. This same man, verse 32, spake kindly unto him, set his throne above the throne of the kings that were with him in Babylon. By the way, if you want to know who might have finished out writing the book of 2 Kings, maybe it's Jeremiah, since it's the same ending to the book. Just a thought. But verse 33, changed his prison garments. He did continually eat bread before him all the days of his life. For his diet, there was a continual diet given him of the king of Babylon, every day a portion until the days of his death, all the days of his life. Feed me with bread convenient for me. God, just take care of me. All right, here's Luke 11, verse 3. This is the one I'm quoting you. We'll go to 1 Timothy and we'll be done. Give us day by day our, what is it? Daily bread. Do you understand that is a physical, literal thing there? 1 Timothy 6 and we're done. 1 Timothy 6 and we're done. The simplicity of this, I don't want you to lose it. What do I need? What do I need before I die? Well, remove far from me vanity and lies. We'll deal with next week. Give me neither poverty nor riches. But then he said, feed me with bread convenient for me. What does that look like? It doesn't look like a pantry full of bread. It looks like, oh, look, there's still enough in here for another loaf today, widow woman. Oh, look, there's still enough oil and flour. We can make another loaf today. Would you look at that? There's enough for another loaf today. Oh, look, there's enough for another loaf today. Can I tell you how good our God's been to us, that every single day along the way, there just seems to be enough for another loaf today. And I'm telling you, I can be as guilty of it as anybody, that when you start looking at, well, what about tomorrow? What about the next week? What about this? Oh, no, what about these things? Yeah, but you know what? If you just keep it to the realization that the God of heaven doesn't really owe us anything. And the fact that He just keeps feeding us the way He does. Say, well, is He interested in doing that? You realize it's the one command that is consistent across the Scriptures to His men. Do you know what it is? It's feed my people. He commanded the judges to feed His people. He told Moses to feed His people. He told David to feed His people. He told the prophets to feed His people. He fed people. He told the apostles to feed people. You know what He told the preachers in the church age? Feed the flock of God. This man has it figured out. Augur, he has it figured out. Well, look at these 2 verses, 3 verses, and we're done. Verse 6, 1 Timothy 6, 6 through 8. You know where we're going. But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. And having, notice the connection, food and raiment, let us be therewith content. Isn't it amazing? Genesis 28, Jacob, God, if you'll just feed me and clothe me, just be with me, you'll be my God. Brother Willie, I heard you say something on Thursday night. But if you had it all to do it again, you'd go through that fire. You know what I know about God? You know what I know? I know even that day, they had food. It wasn't brisket, but they had food. And they were clothed. Dark day? Sure. You know what they had? Food, raiment. You know what the children of Israel had in the wilderness for 40 years? Food and raiment. I'll make it where your shoes don't run out. I'll make it where your clothes keep left. Why? Because he's consistent. You know where our problems often lie? They often lie, and when we start going after more. And we'll wind up like Solomon, going after more and going, vanity of vanity, all is vanity. And here's this man who just said, you can have all that. I don't need that. You know what I want? Hey, here's what I want. Just enough, God. Just take care of me. And we would do well to learn this lesson from Proverbs 30. Let's stand to our feet tonight.